I got a great question in the comments. I was asked, what do I think about Babe Ruth? And then actually Luke Voigt. And I was like, what do I think about Luke Voigt? Let me check. I don't want to just tell you my feelings. Let me go into the numbers and assess from there. And honestly, I'm glad that I was presented with this question because I think even more about Luke Voigt after digging into the numbers. Let me just address that. Let me take you on a little path of what I was looking for here. And it brought me to another piece on Baseball Savant that I wanted to make a note for you guys. So when you sort right away to the leaderboards, that barrel number there is barrels per plate appearance. And if you go to the individual player page, they'll break down batted balls and then they'll give you barrels per batted ball event. And so this number is different. That's a different number. That's how many times I can get involved in a barrel per just plate appearance. But then there's the when I make contact, how often is that a barrel? How often is that a barrel? So those two metrics are different. And, Baseball Savant admittedly has some shortcomings. And this would be one of them in particular. I mean, I want to just be able to sort by barrel percentage based on batted ball events. But they don't want to give me that. They don't want to give me that. They only want, even in the advanced search, I can't pick that particular metric. So in essence, I would have to go in, click on individual players, slide down, I think go to the StatCast metrics, and start digging through what's the barrel percentage per batted ball event. So just note that there's another little layer in there when you go to the individual player page that's going to tell you a little bit more than the barrels per plate appearance. And I haven't really investigated this, like maybe that gap makes a difference because now you have somebody who is using their eye to command the plate to get into favorable counts and then generate barrels versus a guy who he's a first pitch swinger. He's swinging at things outside the plate. So there's probably another layer of analysis here, but just to point out, know the difference between that leaderboard, barrel per plate appearance, and then if you go into the player pages, you can get that per batted ball event. And typically, I think the batted ball event is higher. I was talking about Mondesi in the last one. His barrel per plate appearance is 7.1, tolerable, but his barrels per batted ball event is 12, which starts to creep up into that 10% plus area, which I like. So diving into Luke Voigt, this is the key. Luke Voigt is an exit velo stud. I mean studly, and his exit velo, average exit velo on per hit, 93 miles an hour. That's high end. You're starting to approach high end. 88 miles per hour is probably average. 90 is great. 91, 92. So the thing you do is go to your Baseball Savant, sort by average exit velo. That's a good sort. That's a good sort. Those guys are hitting it hard. I mean, let's be honest. This is a game of physics. We're talking about physics. We're talking about velocities, spin rates, trajectories, vectors. So if you're betting on velo both ways, you're going to be safer than not. If you're betting on hard velo arms and hard exit velo bats, I mean, you're likely to get Ks and home runs. So just something to take a look at. But this is the key. Under average exit velo, when you do that sort, Luke Voigt's missing. Luke Voigt's missing. You have to change the batted ball event number and drop it to something low, like 30 or 40, because Voigt only came up and played at the end of the season. So either his plate appearances or events is a lot lower. And so notice when you drop that number down, all of a sudden Voigt pops up. He's a top 15 average exit velo player. Interesting. Couple other names pop up on there. Franmil Reyes, Franchy Cordero, Flyers. So, make sure you change what is controlling, how many events, how many plate appearances, how many innings pitched. Because that's how you're going to get down and find somebody, he came up at the end of the season. Or he played a little bit and then he was hurt. Those guys will pop up for you. Some other thing on Luke Voigt, I checked on him. He has really good splits. He hit the same amount of home runs, lefty lefty or righty. So that's great because if you have really bad splits, like if you can't hit lefties, there's a good chance you get platooned. And now when you get platooned, you're going to lose, 150, 200 plate appearances depending. Or if you're on the soft side of the split, you got to be able to hit righties. If you can't hit lefties, that's okay. But if you can't hit righties, So you're looking for some of that. Really great question. I think the concern is it's small sample size. People are maybe hating a little bit because it was end of the season, and they want to say that he's a defensive liability, or maybe Greg Bird is going to get this position back. But my issue is defensive liability. Like, the Yankees are trying to score runs. Great lineup, great park, RBI opportunities galore. The unbelievable exit below. I think that defense is something he can work on. First base is just scoops and stretches, so he could get better. What if he worked all season on his defense, and that's a non-issue, and you've got a 500, 600 plate appearance bopper with 440 home runs? I mean, there could be a lot of home runs. He made an improvement in his launch angle, and what was almost astonishing, I mean, this can't hold this, his barrels per batted ball event, 20%. 20%. I haven't seen a 20%. So I get the joke about the Babe versus the Luke Voit and what's really happening there. I mean, it's not that far off. There is some swing and miss. There's going to be some Ks. There's going to be some droughts, but there's going to be power. I think he's a great flyer. Welcome back to all the subscribers. Welcome in all the new viewers. This is hardcore fantasy baseball draft season prep that we're going through here. We're going to keep it going. I'm gonna dive deeper into some advanced pitching metrics and just give you a little bit of mid-draft season guidance because it's starting to get. We've been drafting and our list is deep and it's just a mess. So I want to give you some guidance, refocus you. Drafts are coming up. It's serious time now. So we're in it, getting deep. I just want to so just stepping back. Just take a step back. There's 4 parts to this fantasy baseball season. There's draft season, arguably the most important season, because this is when we kind of compete with our peers. We establish the team. We get guys that we like. We want to set ourselves up to be able to have a successful season. There's a lot of unknowns. We're facing a plethora of injury risk that are going to be a problem throughout the season, but we want to draft and we want to get ourselves in position to be able to win. But there's probably 3 more phases of the season we have to win. We have to win the first half before the All-Star break. We have to win the first month. We have to be able to hit the wire. We got to be able to churn the bottom of that lineup, paying attention. Maybe we catch somebody. Maybe we catch someone who just blows up beginning of the season like an Aaron Judge a couple years ago. So we're paying attention. Get to the All-Star break. And baseball's funny. It's like a tale of 2 halves. Things can just completely change. Guys rest. Your own personal endurance, you take that little break and you're like, I don't know if I want to set my lineup anymore after the All-Star break. You got to get back into it, make your final push. We're making the playoffs. The way that we draft and with ignoring ADP and looking at players' skills and drafting based on skills and underlying metrics as opposed to just like projections or whatever, these teams are going to perform. You're going to be beating your peers. And then there's going to be playoff management, which is really its own specialty event. You've got to be good enough to make it to the playoffs and then lucky enough to win that you've got the right guys at the end of the season. So part of my approach here today is just, this is a little bit of a forest and the trees conversation. You got to get into the trees, which, last time it was a lot of Mondesi and Dahl. I zoomed in. Do I really like these guys? Can I deal with them? Do I trust them? But sometimes I just got to step back. I got to see the forest. And in terms of the forest, I'm just saying go back and revisit some of those original metrics that you kind of started your list with. This is 10 category. Sort by whip. Just sort last season's whip. First half, second half. Take a look at whips. Whip is a great indicator of how a pitcher pitches. Walks and hits over innings pitched. Walks are bad, hits are bad. Innings pitched, and you're just going to see that's going to distinguish who some of the better or not as good pitchers are. The thing with whip is when a guy's a little walky, he probably has some strikeout stuff, but sometimes he misses or he doesn't want to challenge a certain hitter. He wants to skip the 3-4 hitter and then he'll put him on base and then he'll strike out around him. Those are kind of your higher whip guys that don't just attack. They're a little walky. Or they're a little hitty. That's definitely a good one to look at. whenever I'm looking at the pitcher stats, whether you're sorting your K to B percentage, your Sierras, your xFIPs under advanced metrics, take a look at that home run to fly ball percentage, home run to fly ball, because that's kind of the difference. You can see a guy, he can have really good stuff, he can have pretty good metrics, good velo, good Ks, and you wonder, well, why does he have a 4.3 ERA? Well, his home run to fly ball is probably in the mid ones. 1.3, 1.5. That's a problem. That's a problem. And this may fluctuate year to year, but for some guys, they just give up the long ball. If that home run per fly ball is a 2 or a high 1, that guy, he's got to make an adjustment. Maybe the fastball's too straight. So that's just one thing to peek back over at. Revisit your velocity. Just do a global search and just see if some guys moved around and they got lost, because what these drafts are doing, they're kind of pulling us off of our list. ADP is kind of seeping in, like, oh, I have to get him there, or third base dries up, I've got to reach for this. But if you just take a step back, look at the metrics, see why you had guys in the first place, just a basic thing might be just go back to counting stats. Just look at your home run steals. Go a little deep. Look for those power speed options, guys that can go 20-20, 10-10. So I just like to revisit some of those things. I'm in the middle of a little tree debate myself. So, this is an auction-based pod. We're going to be doing more auctions. But I did land myself into a listener league, Champions League. That's my 16-team snake that I'm doing. It's going to be a slow draft starting on Friday. So, yeah, I've got to prepare for that. Would I prefer to do auctions? Yeah, I would. I mean, it's 16 teams and the rosters are deep. The auction would probably have been 6 hours, and I would have participated in that. But, there is snake, and I've got to do some snakes. I'm co-managing some snakes, so I'm preparing for that. I think that Fantasy Pros tool works pretty well. But this is my debate. If they don't move the pick, the way it reads right now is I have the number 3 pick. So we know that that's Betts. We know that that's Trout 1-2, and here I am at 3. A position that people are saying they don't want to be in. My gut instinct, obviously, is Ronaldinho Acuna. But he's young, sophomore slump, all those things just in the back of my mind. And then you got the Trey Turner alert. You're talking about 60 bases. And so I had to dive in and just look at these guys. I guess my concern is like Turner to get steals, but am I going to be chasing power? And I really like Mondesi and Villar and Hampson so I could get speed somewhere else and just power boost this whole lineup. But that's an example of getting in, doing a player debate with 2 things that you're going to do. I'm looking at the numbers, and the pick is probably Jose Ramirez. I mean, he just went nearly 40-40. I think it was 35-35. The plate discipline is basically amazing. He's walking more than he strikes out. That's the safe pick. But for some reason, I can't do it. I don't want to miss out on Ronald. And this is snake. So, I mean, if I get the 3rd pick, I don't pick for 18 picks or something. So I'm not going to get anybody. If I'm going to debate anyone, I got to debate the next 18 guys. Was it Harper? Was it JD? There's a lot of guys to pick. But I just want to love my team. I want to invest in upside. If Ronald, it was a sophomore slump, it didn't go. I'm willing to fall on that sword and just, I made a mistake drafting young upside. But I'm doing this all the time, and a lot of the times the young upside thing is working over the safe. So that's one debate there. Let me see what else I got for you today. The other thing is like, just projections, in a weird way, they disappear. The projection systems are algorithms, or who knows what they've got built into them. They're all different. As soon as the season starts, the projections just starts to erode. What if a guy didn't hit any home runs in the first month or 2? Oh, he's not going to reach that number anymore. So we're really focusing on just looking at skills, underlying metrics. I was talking about different podcasts that I listened to. I was talking with my boy Phil in the comments, and we were making fun of kind of CBS Sports a little bit. The advice isn't that good. I mean, they just talk about their feelings. They've hung me out to dry for so many seasons about just being late or wrong, and they speak with such confidence. I mean, they would talk as if you have to get an ace in the first 3 picks, 1 or 2 or 1 in the first round. I'm not doing that. There's a good chance in this snake that I don't take a starter for 6 rounds. I want to win hitting, and I want to win power. And I don't want us to lose sight of the forest that we've got to win runs, RBIs, home runs to make it through this whole thing. And we've got to be powered up. We want to sprinkle in speed. We talk about speed. But this isn't like win the league stolen bases issue. So CBS drops their starting pitcher list. I mean, what? This is March 6th. If I had waited this long for CBS, where were you guys? Did you guys just come to this conclusion? I couldn't be waiting for starting pitchers. I've been analyzing starting pitchers for months. For months, basically since fantasy football ended. So they're just going to come out with starting pitchers now. They pay these guys. They do this every day. They're borderline famous. Adam Azer comes on in a starting pitcher in his starting pitcher list, and one of the first things out of his mouth, I'm not really a big FIP or XFIP guy. I mean, what are you talking about? You're not a big FIP or XFIP guy. Well, surprise, guys, surprise. I'm a big FIP and XFIP guy. That's what I want to talk about with you right now. I want to get you a little more comfortable with that. Not only do I like FIP and XFIP, I like FIP minus and XFIP minus. So let's go a little further into that, just in case CBS left you a little short. The difference between FIP and XFIP. It's subtle, but it's pretty easy. FIP integrates that particular pitcher's home run to fly ball ratio. And bases it, that's like how that pitcher actually did. XFIP uses league average home run to fly ball ratio. So where home run to fly ball ratio fluctuates, XFIP is tending to normalize that number. So it's a little bit better. They're saying predictive because his home run to fly ball rate should regress towards the league average. So you kind of can use these two in comparison. Some guys are talking about how FIP doesn't count. I mean, XFIP doesn't really take into account home run to fly ball. It does. It just doesn't take in that particular pitchers. So you've got those two metrics. Those are considered the predictive metrics for ERA. Those will tell you what ERA may look for later. FIP is a great predictor of ERA. And the numbers are calibrated the same so that, you know, where you want that 3 ERA or a 2.5 is great, 2.5 xFIP is great, 2.5 FIP, you can just read them right across, no problem. Let me take you one step further, because I know that you saw the numbers there in Fangraphs. You see your xFIP minus, your FIP minus, your ERA minus, and whatever the numbers. The key there is that average is 100. If you're going to sort by xFIP minus or FIP minus, just sort so it's lowest number first and go down, and you'll see there's all the best pitchers. There's all the best pitchers right there with the low xFIP minus. And basically the minus, what they did in the calculation is they're adjusting for different park factors. So it's very difficult to pitch in Yankee Stadium or in Baltimore or Colorado, you know, the worst. And that person should be kind of accredited or attributed for the park factor. And so FIP minus and xFIP minus is designed to eliminate the park factor. They actually incorporate the park factor number into the calculation. And so that's another way, if you need another thing to check on pitchers to see who really has the stuff, because they're going to be traveling all around the league. Even Colorado pitchers have to leave there sometimes. You can use those metrics. The key there, 100 is average. Below 100, very good. You're going to see some guys down at maybe 60, 70, 80. Those are all really good players. If the xFIP minus is up over 100, you're starting to tend to be below average. So that's another tool for you to use. Get in there, sort by that. And I mean, just so you don't forget, what I think is the kind of pop metric is just underplate discipline for the pitcher, swinging strike percentage. That's your swinging, it's like your whiff rate. If that's around 13 to 14% plus on up, those guys can pop because that's just filth. That's just, you looked at it and he couldn't hit it. That's a good thing to sort by. Just make sure that some of your pitchers didn't get pushed around too much. You know, in the drafting, there was a couple guys. I'm going to get into some players after. We're going to transition over to those players. I think that was enough on the metrics. Let's do a little Be a Doctor segment. We got a little Be a Doctor segment. You know who we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Severino. It's sad. So Severino, he's got to get shut down. They got to back him off. He's talking about a little soreness in the back of his shoulder. And here's another guy working at plus velo, having a little trouble maintaining it. And so the story that's floating around on the streets is that we're getting more news because of Twitter and because everyone's watching and everyone's under the microscope, that we're just hearing about more little issues and we shouldn't overreact. And so, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that into consideration. But it's your first warning sign. You know, we had a warning sign with Folty. Folty's elbow was a little inflamed, but Folty got going again. So I'll accept little blips if they get back going. We like to see things like guys named as opening starter, like Blake Snell, opening starter. He's ready to go. He's feeling good. He's been striking guys out. You know, Severino backed off. Kershaw, not going to start the season. So just keeping an eye on that. When they get sent for an MRI, it's worse. It's worse. Something hurts, and they want to see what it is. If they just rest, if they take a couple days off, this is just kind of the natural progression for pitchers. I think you'll be okay. But right now, I'm fading Severino just a touch. Just a touch. You know, until I hear something a little bit stronger on that. We lost Miguel Sano. We lost him for like 6 weeks or something. Apparently he was partying and he cut his heel, but it's in a weird spot where his heel can't heal. So they did a surgery and now he's out, and so he's not going to be ramped up, and he has weight issues. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm a little concerned about Nick Senzel. The word keeps shifting. So I think the word was he was going to start at center field. But then the new word is that they're probably going to start him in the minors. But some people are still saying the old word. But I think Senzel, I'm leaning towards him starting in the minors. And I'm upset. I'm upset because the Vlad trapdoor approach, where we started Senzel for a couple weeks and then maybe had another piece to play with, is starting to look like multiple guys on the bench. Or now do I have to hold him? And we lost Sano. So third base just got a little more shallow. And it just left me to thinking, like, can I just live with Suarez? I mean, is this just about Suarez? And I dug back into Suarez, and I probably could. He was a very good hitter. The only thing holding him back is he went ice water, glacier cold for 6 weeks during the end of the season and the playoffs. And I think everyone that had him knows that happened. It suppressed his stats a little bit at the end. I don't think he's that kind of hitter. All his contact rates look great. He showed 30 home run power. He should deliver on it again. Good park. So Suarez is there. But in the end, the way I like Ronald at 3, that Vlad lore, that just the lore of Vlad coming up and just maybe 320 or something, just ridiculous. Even though Toronto's busy talking about, they're concerned about his body type, or, you know, we're concerned about his defense. It's ridiculous. But that's what's happening at third base. Another player I wanted to mention, we got some Peter Alonso helium. He's a first baseman for the New York Mets. Peter Alonso. He may get the start. I don't know if they're going to hold him back. He's going to be another guy who we just have to watch. Is he going to get called up? Is he going to break camp with the team? Just a name I wanted you to throw in there. I think he's getting drafted. I mean, he's getting drafted as an upside piece because he took a step forward last year in the minors. We want to take a look at that. I'm just going to throw this name out there. It's a Tampa Bay Ray, Wander Franco. It may not happen this season, but there's a must-own player for you at any point further. If you're in dynasties or you're drafting minor leaguers, your Wander Franco is basically another version of Vlad. We got to see what he's going to do. He's young. And then I had another comment talking about post-type sleepers, and it really made me think, well, who are my post-type sleepers? That's been in the back of my mind. We're getting a little preseason hype from Lewis Brinson. Lewis Brinson, toolsy, power speed option. This guy was supposed to be a stud. It's taken him a little time. He's in a bad park, but he's getting the plate appearances. You want to keep him in your mind for late. I think pitching-wise, I think Luis Castillo still might have it. I know that he burned us. I know he broke hearts last season. but maybe go back and get a piece if you're passing on a lot of pitching and you need to get a number 2, even a late number 1. I'm looking at Castillo there. I sorted swinging strike late in the season, second half, month by month, and I'm seeing Flaherty popped a little bit. Flaherty popped the preseason. He just K'd 9 guys in 4 games. We're not sure what we're going to get, but if you need a flyer for a breakout, lean towards swinging strike. Tanaka can strike guys out. He's on that list. The only problem, home run to fly ball, home run rates. He keeps giving up the long ball. That's taken away from his strikeout stuff. That's why he can be hit or miss. He's like gems or blow-ups during the season, but he's something to get in there. Matt Harvey did it just at the end of the last season. I'll do it. I'm not telling you to do it, but I'll take some Matt Harvey. Robbie Ray has some stuff. Injuries derailed him. But remember last season how high we were on Robbie Ray. I mean, Robbie Ray was... I can't even compare him to someone. He was probably a top 15 concept last season. Couple outfielders for you. Dominguez Santana talk is slowly starting to emerge a little bit. He's a little bit swing and miss, but we're excited because where he got buried in Milwaukee and they took his job away from him, he's going to be getting full plate appearances in Seattle. Daniel Palka, Palka. I think he's a White Sox. He had some power. This dude has some power. Not hearing about him. I don't know if I've seen an at-bat, but there's power there. You're looking for some late power. That's definitely an option to you. That's what I got for you today, boys. Remember the forest and the trees. Sometimes you just regroup, just step back, go to your key metrics, sort it out from there. Hopefully some of that xFIP minus, FIP minus, you can mix that in. You can see some more pitching. You can get an idea of some guys based on the park factors. Big shout out to the subscribers. You guys are the best. If you're a new viewer, sign up. I appreciate all the comments. I love the likes. We're going to keep it coming. We got drafts to win. I know we're talking auctions, but I got to take down this slow draft snake. So we're going to touch on that too. I'm out.